All right, BoobTube. What's up? Today we're going to go over how kind of the track day went yesterday for me, and also some of the issues that I've got to fix. So, overall, the car performed well. Very fast, very loud. I actually got complained that I'm way above typical sound limit, which I don't think it's much louder than it was at NCM earlier this year, but at the same time, I wasn't also driving the car as hard at NCM. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Had a overall cooling problem. I could only do about 1 to 1.5 laps before the car was warm enough to where I had to do a couple of cool down laps. And then towards the end of the day, I lost oil pressure. Well, I didn't lose oil pressure, but oil pressure had gradually fallen throughout the day. But I didn't notice it until I went back and looked at my data from everything. But I believe either the rear main seal is leaking or the flange. I pinched the gasket that's the rear stack gear. So I'm not sure on what it is. I kind of think it's the rear stack gear flange, because if the rear main seal was leaking, there would be oil, or you would at least think there would be oil all over the back of the counterweight and on the back of the flywheel, and there's not. But there is oil all down in there next to the flange. So that could be part of the reason why I lost some oil pressure, is that flange, the gasket, if it's pinched or whatever, finally started just to weep it out. It has always dripped a little bit, but I always was suspecting that it might be a just something that needed to wear in a tad bit, and once it wore in, it would quit dripping. But it has continuously got worse. As you can see, it throws oil all the way down the side of the block, and then underneath the car there's some drips. So when I unloaded it off the trailer, there was a pretty large wet spot underneath it. So with that, I'm going to pull the motor and look that over and make sure that it's hopefully fixable. Along with that, I think another reason why the oil pressure slowly began to fall is the oil has been in here since this is the second track day that it's done, and I've done a few hundred miles of street driving on it. And I think I don't know if it'll focus on it, fuel loaded the oil a little bit. Like, this is 20W50. It shouldn't hardly drip off the end of the dipstick, but it does. And it smells kind of like fuel. So it's due for an oil change anyway, so I'm not going to change it since I have to pull the motor out. And then, so to help with the cooling, I'm going to try going to put a underdrive pulley set on it. Underdrive the crank, overdrive the water pump, or larger size water pump, not necessarily, still underdrives it, but larger water pump pulley. Hopefully to slow down the water flow, because while I was on track, during the cool down laps, if I went like cruising speed, like 30 or 40 mile an hour around the track, the temps would fall almost instantly. But if I continued to drive at like 50% effort or something around the track, it would take multiple laps for the car to cool down. So I think I'm just pushing the water too quickly through the radiator, so it's not actually having enough time to pull the heat out. And the hood vent and everything else is working. So my goal is to try that first before I go and fully duct the back of the radiator into the hood vent. So that, because that introduces a whole lot of extra extra stuff that has to come on and off the car for you to be able to work on anything in the engine bay. So, and then obviously look on that rear main seal. And then the last thing that I had die on me is the inlet air temp. So initially, the last session of the day, I have a safety built into the ECU that if the oil pressure drops below 30 pounds at like 4,000 RPM or so, that it kicks in a rev limiter at 5 grand. So, and you have to go in and clear the code for you to be able to drive that further. And I was like, all right, that's probably a good stopping point for the day, since it was its real first true test of me actually beating on the car, which it did well. It never skipped a beat or anything, even with me pushing the temperature on the car up to 220 degrees while driving around. It never got mad or angry or had any issues. So I was pretty impressed with that. But that's just the few things that I'm going to do that I wanted to go ahead and throw a video up. And eventually sometime later this week, I'm going to start disassembling everything and maybe possibly figure out something to do with the exhaust, see if I can't get this thing a little bit quieter. So either way, that's it for now, guys. I'm going to post this right quick, and if you have any ideas on helping keep the car cooler than what I've already talked about, I know from research, I kind of knew that going into this, but I avoided it to begin with just because I wanted to get the car together and run, that rotaries that you race, you pretty much have to run an underdrive pulley system on it, because it can overcome the water, and you cavitate the pump and everything else because you're just spinning it so fast. But I'm gonna jump out of here and go chillax and catch up on some other YouTube stuff. See you later, guys. Deuces.